Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. Do you know how wet coconut turns into dry coconut or how Narial turns into Copra? I will show you how I did it practically at my home, the too during a rainy season. See, sometimes it will be flooded with so many coconuts, particularly when we have a coconut tree at our home. I engaged a person to peel the coconuts at my home.
चेक करके देखो.
He verified whether it is wet by shaking and feeling the sound of water. And he
Check करके
peeled off
देखो.
all the wet coconuts. And now we got a bag full of coconuts. See, we can't keep this coconut unopened like this for more than a week. After a week, it starts to rot. So we have to break them and use the wet coconut as far as possible, and the remaining wet coconut we have to dry it out. Even after making so many recipes like sweets, chutneys and all, we still be left with so many wet coconuts. We have to dry them in order to preserve. So I'll show you how to dry the wet coconut into dry coconut. That is how to turn the Narial into Copra. See, after breaking the wet coconut into two parts, we have to heat that in oven for 1 or 2 minutes. After heating, we have to dry that wet coconut under fan for a few minutes until it cools down. So when it cools down, it starts to get separated from the shell. You can see the gap developing between the white meat part and the shell. Then after it cools down, you have to take a knife, and with the help of the knife you have to push out the white meat part from the shell. Thus it comes out so easily. Thus we have to do the same for all the other coconuts. You have to break them, heat them in the oven for 1 or 2 minutes, and then cool them down under the fan, and then push out the white coconut meat part from the shell. After removing all the white coconut meat parts, you have to further dry them under the fan for 7 days. And every day you have to heat these things in the oven for 1 or 2 minutes 3 times a day. That is morning, afternoon and evening. Each time 1 or 2 minutes in the oven. You have to heat them and then dry them again under the fan. Why we have to heat is a watery layer will be formed on the white meat part of the coconut, and this will help in development of fungus. So in order to prevent the growth of fungus, we have to heat these white coconut meat parts in the oven three times a day, every day for 7 days. See, this is the fungus which develops if you don't dry them in the oven or heat them in the oven for 1 or 2 minutes 3 times a day. Thus, after cooling them, after drying them, the whole coconut will be turned into Copra. Other way of converting the Narial into Copra is by grating the wet coconut and drying that grated coconut in the oven by heating it in the oven by 1 or 2 minutes and then drying them under the fan. Thus, there are two ways of preserving the wet coconut. That is by drying, of course, but by drying the whole coconut meat part under the fan, or by grating that wet coconut and then drying that wet coconut. Thus a whole lot of coconuts have been turned into dry coconut or Copra. So this is the thing, friends, how I dried my wet coconut into Copra, that too in a rainy season. Because it was raining outside, I could not dry them out in the outside, and dried them under the fan by heating them 3 times a day regularly and drying later under the fan. Thus a whole lot of coconut was turned into Copra. So I think you have liked my cha-
Kindly
video,
like,
friends. If you
share,
like it,
and
please
subscribe
share
to my
and
channel. Thank you.
subscribe to it. Thank you.